Welcome to another exciting episode of we're featuring this on two podcasts, the Insurance Untangled podcast, as well as the Navigating Dental Insurance podcast. My name is Ben Tuine, and Jordan Comstock and I are podcasts on the Navigating Dental Insurance podcast, and he's joining us today. And Naren and I are hosts on the Insurance Untangled podcast. And of course,
a lot of podcasts.
When we talk about insurance, we always have our most trusted colleague, Tessina, with us. Tessina, welcome to the program.
What's up, Tessina?
Hi.
Excellent. How y'all doing?
We're doing good, man.
Good. Cold. It's too cold.
It is too cold. Yeah. I mean, I need a beach. Like now.
Yes. November 8th, 2024. It's freezing cold here in Utah. I'm kind of bummed about it because, my son's heavy into competitive baseball, and you can't do a whole lot in the wintertime here.
No, you can't.
Except for today, it's going to be 42 degrees and sunny, and we're doing batting practice outside today. So we'll see how that goes.
Geez, yeah, that's still cold. Yeah, I'm still thinking about beaches. So, yeah, let's go there.
Yes.
Well, and when it gets cold, your son like shreds on the guitar, doesn't he? So that's a cool thing.
We should go in and buy a property in Hawaii.
I will totally do that, and then we just hang out together and have nice drinks and sit in the sun.
Yes.
That sounds perfect to me.
Airbnb it out when it's not being used, but
hopefully it's always being used by us.
We use it when we're there. We should get together to talk about that.
Yeah, it sounds like something we need to do on our barbecue here, which we need to plan. So
for sure. Oh yes, I got the ribs, dude. Anytime you want, let me know.
I will text you. We'll set up some time to do a BBQ.
Okay. If any of Tessina, you guys are interested, come on over.
Tessina, you are always invited. Yeah, come hang out.
Okay.
Well, the topic that we chose to talk about today is insurance industry updates, particularly for that of 2025 and beyond. And so we're going to spend the first half of this episode talking to Tessina, and of course, Jordan chime in with questions. And then the last half, we want to talk about 2025 or updates for this year that are going to bleed over to 2025 as it pertains to membership plan trends, which is what we're going to ask Jordan about. So,
and on insurance, I think I'm just going to chime in with more sarcasm than any value.
Hey, the best programs out there have a lot of flavor and variety. So, Jordan, you bring the flavor and variety. So Tessina, I know we can't talk too much about the details of what we're currently working on, but I guess the question is there any insurance companies out there that you can't negotiate with?
Yeah, so being so careful about all this, right? Yes. So we know that there are some insurance companies that we have been told do not negotiate. There's nothing you can do about it. You just have to take whatever fee they say you have to take. I know. And some of them are very heavy inpatient bases, and offices feel like they have no choice. They have nowhere to turn. They would lose these patients. So they think they won't. But so their concern or fear is that they would lose these patients if they were to go out of network with this company. But these companies, there are options to negotiate these companies. Any insurance company telling you that they don't negotiate because they have such a good stronghold on you. They are betting on the fact that you're not going anywhere. Your patients aren't going anywhere. The HR departments aren't going anywhere. When we start pushing that envelope and showing them that we are ready to go somewhere else, they will negotiate.
Yeah.
Isn't that funny? That in and of itself is a negotiation tactic. We don't negotiate, right? There's sarcasm for you.
Yeah, but it's a myth, I'd say, right now, that there are companies that just don't negotiate. So there's options, and we can help you
that's
find
good.
them, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
What? Hey, I got a second question on that. That's not sarcasm. What percentage of insurance companies are saying we don't negotiate? Do you know that off the top of your head?
Yeah. I feel like it's been growing. It used to be they would all negotiate, when you say Ben, and more and more have started cutting off their negotiation tactics.
It's almost like they all get together at a summit every year and talk about all the same strategies.
All they do, and they're very
I know.
private gatherings.
They
I know, it's
definitely do.
ridiculous.
Yeah.
But,
You know,
but
so
when
it's
dentists do
become-
it, it's
Yeah.
against the law.
I know. But the interesting thing is,
that's what
they're
I'm joking
all-
about.
like all the insurance companies are saying we're not going to negotiate, but they are.
Yeah.
They are. So if any of them say, like, you have more and more that say, "Oh yeah, we've been added to the list of non-negotiables," like we just got a fee schedule from you yesterday. Are you serious?
Yeah.
So these
Jeez.
are sort of tactics to discourage doctors from negotiating.
Yes.
But being safe in our play, especially with what we're currently working on a massive scale, is that every insurance carrier is negotiable, right? If you have the
Yes.
right strategy, the right approach, like the World Series, one of the reasons why I really love watching baseball, not only is it the hardest thing to do to hit a 95 mile per hour fast pitch or an 82 mile per hour slope, off speed pitch. The reality is that if you don't go to that plate with a plan, with an approach, with a strategy, like Freddie Freeman, he hit that grand slam game 1, and he hit, 2 or 3 games of consecutive not grand slam, home runs, but he went in looking for a very specific pitch. And he waited. And when he saw that pitch coming, you have a split second to hit it, And he came with a mindset, coming and playing with a broken foot and hitting home runs in the World Series. He came in with a plan, right? And that was, I love watching sports, because what sports tells you is that from time to time, people can do the impossible, right? So when it comes to negotiating with these big plans that say we're not going to negotiate, when you crack that armor and you go down the process of negotiations to prove to everybody that, hey, these plans are negotiable, we just have to come with the right approach, the right strategy, right? But at the end of the day, they're all negotiable, is what we're learning.
Yeah, everything
Yes.
is. If you think about
And
it.
a lot of the doctors want to just do it themselves, do it in-house, and then they are shut down door after door that they knock on the insurance companies, being told, we don't negotiate. So when you're doing it on your own, I love that theory and I love that effort. Put the power into your own hands. However, how do you know if they do or do not negotiate? You're not privy to what that insurance company is or is not doing. They just easily get to shut you down, and you have no way of knowing any different. So it is very helpful getting expert level knowledge, or reaching out to a consultant, or getting, some advice one way or the other of what those options are, what those strategies are, what those techniques are, because otherwise you're just in the dark and the insurance company knows it.
Absolutely. That's
ridiculous.
Everybody's in the dark, right? And it's not one of those things where you can go out to another practice to say, hey, what did you negotiate with that insurance company, right?
Not allowed.
Legal for practices, illegal. So let me say, illegal for practices, stupid.
Right.
Legal for insurance companies to do.
Yeah.
Work with others and then collaborate against.
We have to balance the scale, because and I know, and I'm not against capitalism by any stretch, but when you look at the healthcare industry, especially that of dental, on how much money that people pay to get care, right? How much of that does not go towards their care? How much of that goes, and I have nothing against salespeople. I consider myself a salesperson, right? But
it just depends, if you got to hire them and they don't do a good job, then you got to fire them, and then you have some issue with them.
A lot of times, like the people that make the most money when it comes to insurance and clinical are not the doctors. It's never the doctors. And who suffers? It's the patients, right? So that's my message to the insurance people that are always listening to our podcast, is that there has to be a happy medium. There has to be more of a commitment towards the financial part of quality care, right? And that's never happened. That's never happened in the history of insurance, in my opinion, is that the physicians and doctors have never received a level of compensation that's commensurate with their skills to keep people healthy, So I'm off my rant. It's your turn, Jordan, for some spice or flavor.
Well, the first thing that you said is like, I'm not against capitalism, which I agree with you. I'm not against that too. Here's what I'm against: when businesses or corporations use capitalism to protect their profits at the expense of patient care and with their partners, which are practice owners, right?
Yeah.
Some data points that I have, I'll share some of mine before we transition to some the other stuff. But it's really interesting to me that last year over $156 million were spent just on lobbying so that insurance companies, dental insurance companies, don't have to pay out claims, and they're protecting, right? So they're using government. Capitalism is all about private citizens creating value for each other, and lobbying is about going to the government and saying, we can't provide value, so can you protect us? That's what they're doing, right? That's what industries that have lobbying power are using laws and regulations to make it so they win because their product's not good enough for consumers and for practice owners, right? So they got to spend money with the government to set these little laws up so that they can be protected. That's where I draw the line, right? It's like, no, provide value. That is true capitalism, and make sure that patients and practice owners are getting value, and you as a corporation, right? That is a win-win-win scenario, right? Where today it's a win, lose, right? The patient's losing, the practice losing, and the people that have the money and the lobbying power are winning, which is backwards.
Oh, yeah.
So
They're
my 2 cents.
It reminds me of Elon Musk and Dana White, who owns UFC. Is both of them, as you know, they run, Elon, he runs multiple corporations, billions and billions in revenue. So when they, as business owners, when they're told by their advertisers to pull down certain content, like if they're promoting a president or endorse a certain candidate for government, they get blasted by the sponsors saying, hey, you got to take that stuff down. You can't say stuff like that. And they turn around and they put up their middle finger and says, you don't tell me how to run my business. If you could take your advertising dollars and go somewhere else. But that's a form of lobbying, right? It's control. It's controlling the narrative, right?
That's a good point. Yep.
In an effort to sort of, benefit organizations from a capitalistic perspective. But the insurance companies do that all day long.
It's fascinating to me. And it's like, man, all you're doing is making it harder for your product to really serve people, and that is the core of capitalism and entrepreneurship, and the United States is we have the freedom to be able to provide value for others, and if our products are not valuable, they just can cancel with us. Not we're going to be protected by the law.
Absolutely.
It's silly to me. It's just a silly joke, right? Are we in a simulation? This is a joke.
Last question for Tessina before we move on to the membership plan stuff here.
Sure.
You had mentioned something, Tessina, about it's difficult when you're trying to go at this on your own, right? You don't know, because the data that you should know to create leverage is illegal to access, right? Because we can't go to other colleagues and access them. What is sort of your recommendation to doctors that are saying, hey, how can we do what you're doing?
My recommendation, I know it's going to be to hire a consultant, hire an expert, hire somebody who is making sure that they are following the laws that protect them and you and your rights to negotiate. There's a lot of places you can go and look for feedback as to how to do these things. And again, you want to be careful where you're finding your data. But these people who are doing it every day, negotiating or working with insurance companies on a day-to-day basis, they have such a wealth of knowledge of trends of what the insurance companies are doing. Also, not just for your city, for the whole state, not just for that state, but for the whole country. So we have this wide access to information available to us that we can share with you under the proper legal structures.
That's important. That's so important, because you don't want to be made an example of, right? Even though, like, a good example of being made an example of is Dr. Roy Shelburne. Jordan and I know Dr. Roy, for $17,000 in supposed quote unquote overbilling. And of course, he was not aware of it. And it could have been corrected just with a simple refund on the part of the government, Medicaid, right? Which he didn't. He unintentionally overbilled $17,000. He spoke about this on our podcast a few years ago.
Yes, he did.
And he was slapped with a felony. It's like, seriously, you could have asked him to refund it. It was an innocent mistake.
Yeah, and if you know Roy, he's like the kindest human being. I was just texting him the other day. In fact, let's bring him back on the show, Ben. Yeah. He's an amazing person. And he lives life with like purpose, and he's just a genuine human being. You're like, wait, the government did what to you? Like they could have just like had a fee or paid it back. Like,
my guess
what?
is they threw the book at him to
make an example.
Either there's somebody up for re-election that was tied to that case,
probably,
or making an example of the overbilling issue that goes on in all parts of medicine, right? Is that practices overbill. Not everybody, it's a minority group, but punishing the honest.
Well, now it's a data that like the lawyers can be like, well, this is a case that went through, right? Because that's all law is it's like, oh, they're just going to look at this other case and what happened there and define the law based off of that, right? That's all it is.
Oh yeah, it's ridiculous. So
sorry, am I poking holes in too many things? That's what's happening.
You're good. Did you have anything else, Tessa, you wanted to chime in on?
I'm just going to say, like, I'm all for, again, I don't want to discourage anybody from trying efforts on their own, and every individual person and efforts do matter and they do count. And I think we should be doing those things. But when you're reaching out to consultants or negotiating firms that can help you, that does actually empower you further with the knowledge, with the experience that you get to go through firsthand. That maybe if you were to work at a different office, you could use that knowledge at that point in time, or you start gaining that experience and gaining that knowledge, and that does empower you, and you are able to achieve so much more than what you could have just on your own. Again, the goal of the insurance company is to keep you in the dark. They do not want you to know about the options that are available to you.
Such a great partner. Can you imagine if your spouse kept you in the dark? It's not going to end well. Let's just say that.
That makes for a perfect ending of a marriage, maybe. I don't know.
Yep. Sorry.
All
guys.
right.
I'm on something.
Yeah. Anybody interested in picking Tessina's brain, verusdental.com is her website, verusdental.com. We'll post that in the show notes as well. So thank you, Tessina. We're gonna pivot. We're gonna pivot towards membership plans, and love your feedback too, Tessina.
Sure.
I'm gonna direct a few questions here to Jordan. So Jordan, historically, membership plans have sort of been one thing that many practices have not done.
Yeah.
And now we're starting to see, at least over the last decade, a trend that membership plans are trending in the right direction. Can you?
Go ahead.
Yeah. Can you share with us some just general membership plan updates that are helpful for doctors to know for 2025 and beyond?
Yeah, I have several things, and some will relate to insurance too, because it's all related, right?
Yeah.
The first thing that comes to my mind when you say that is there's when you look at Google search results and look at the data, you can go to Google Trends. Years ago, like, you look at dentist near me, and all the search results are increasing, right? For that, when you look at the data today, dentist near me results are actually going down, and dental membership plan searches are actually going up quite a bit, which is really interesting to me. And when you think about it, when you run and operate a practice, you want to attract the highest quality of patient. Same thing with my company, right? I want to attract the highest quality client that uses our technology, right? And uses it right, and uses it so it benefits them and their patients. It's the same thing. Membership patients, the trend is going up, like Ben said, and Google Trends is saying that, as well as membership patients spend 4.6 times more than PPO patients.
No way.
Yes, that is the data that we're collecting, and it may vary depending on offices. You may have a great treatment acceptance coordinator, whatever you call them, that is really good at their job. But membership plans, organically, when you have one in place, patients say yes more. And we all know this. We've all talked about it for years, Ben. Both you and I spend a lot of money when we go to Costco, and we're a part of that membership plan, right? Or Amazon Prime, we get a package on the porch every day. It's because of the memberships, right? But that is the data that, I'm sorry. Yeah. Hey, I'm in a household with all females. They're always shopping. I
Hey,
have three
nothing wrong with
daughters.
that.
Like literally my oldest daughter yesterday is like, can we go Christmas shopping on Amazon tonight? I'm like, I'm really not in the mood. Like, I don't want to go shopping or looking at a screen at toys that you want.
Yeah, but on Amazon, it's a
But
comfort from your own couch, you know?
yeah, it is. It's convenient, right? So yeah, that on that. So that tells us that patients are looking for membership plans
Mhm.
more and more because it is convenient, just like your comment with Amazon Prime. It's budget friendly, and they commit more to your office. And if you think about it, like a traditional PPO plan discourages patients from getting the treatment they need, right? With caps and limitations and all that BS they throw on you, right?
Yes.
Yeah, Tessa's like, yes, sweating and crying at the same time. I'm joking. But membership plans are designed by practices that are in benefit for practices and patients. And there's an uncapped side of it, right? And no limitations and all the red tape that insurance companies do to your small practice or emerging DSO or whatever you may have. They're throwing more red tape for you and your patients, which is ridiculous. So membership patients spend 4.6 times more than PPOs, which is really interesting. So if I were a practice owner, I would be finding more of those patients, right? And the top practices we see, no surprise, have some sort of marketing function that is working for them, that's having both insured and uninsured patients find them. Another data point that we have, there's over half of the United States still doesn't have dental insurance. In fact, that's increasing. A couple years ago, we had that COVID recession, and more and more people have retired earlier than planned, right? Because of that, the recession back then, right? And the bucket, I think there was like 20 million people that retired earlier than planned, and all of the time they lose their dental benefits if they're at a corporation, right? If they're at a small business, they just still don't have dental insurance, right? And that's a huge thing. Over half of the United States are small business owners and employees of those small business owners. And typically they don't sign up for an insurance plan, right? And what we're seeing is a trend going up. More and more practices are reaching out and finding these small businesses and offering them a membership plan. In fact, all of my employees here at BoomCloud, we don't supply them with dental insurance. We supply them with a membership plan with several of our doctors that use our technology. So that trend is going up in the membership space. Another thing that I think we should really take in consideration is AI is starting to form really fast in every industry, and insurance companies are getting caught using AI to deny more and more claims. There's a suit that went on, I think, this last year that we as you as practice owners need to be aware that insurance companies are using AI to deny and combat against you, right? Geez, is that another checkbox of like why we shouldn't partner with insurance companies, if you ask me?
Cigna, yeah, they were caught last year for auto adjudicating claims using AI.
Yep.
And denying them, not going through an actual review. That's where the government stepped in and said, okay, this is not right.
Yeah.
But automatically denied by a computer.
Yeah, let me tell you about AI, and the government's not going to be able to keep up with the advancements of AI. It's moving so fast, right? There will be a way to be like, okay, cool. This is how the government audits us for AI use with our insurance companies. We're going to program the AI now to recognize that and to manipulate that so we don't get flagged, right? There is a lot of things you can do with AI today. Insurance companies are using it more and more. Yes, there's some lawsuits going on. There's some that aren't, but most of the time they're using it to deny claims. It's so easy to do with today's technology. It's kind of scary. So I would be very cautious of that. You can read articles. We've got articles on boomcloudapps.com that talk about the AI uses. But the truth is we want to help patients, right? That's what we're all here. We're recording these podcasts, right? Because essentially we're here to help patients.
Yeah.
59%, the data that I have, 59%, 60% of patients choose not to move forward with dental care because of the cost, right? It may be surprising. It may be confusing because insurance companies make it confusing, right? And we know that both membership, the three things that I think really help patients understand and say yes to the cost. I mean, the data we have is membership patients spend 4.6 times more than PPOs. Okay, that's interesting. And the other data we have in the industry is that 60% of patients don't get treatment because of the cost. They're scared of it, right? There's three things your practice can do to help with that patient mindset. That's really critical. One, offer the membership plan because it's budget friendly and it helps them with their dental care, doesn't limit them. Two, patient financing is easy. There's so many companies that do this today that can help your practice out. And then there's like dental warranty plans, like our friend Jared Ben at Dental Warranty. They do these warranty plans that help cover if there's any issues. And look, I wasn't a dental, I managed a dental lab for like 8 years before starting Boom Cloud. Restorations fail for many reasons. There's a lot of variables, right? So you want to look at maybe using a dental warranty plan to help give the patient a great experience and say, you know what, you can pay for a warranty, and it's not like car extended warranties. Like Jared and his team are not going to be like, hey, did you forget to do we got a dental warranty here.
Right.
They're not like predatory. They actually are here to help. So I think with membership plans, financing, and like dental warranties on restoration, like that's all a patient needs to have a great experience. And also, like, if you're like, hey, we're financially giving you a warranty, if anything happens to the things that go chomp, chomp, chomp in your mouth that are like really hard, that can easily break when they're prosthetics, it's like that's a way to combat the cost and the fear of like, oh, if something breaks, now I've got to maintain it. Like that's really why patients are saying no to treatment. Another reason why 22% of patients decide not to go get treatment because they're like, well, it's not urgent, or it's not really an issue. And we know that like the most undiagnosed treatment is perio, which is a huge issue. Because do you know what happened? I mean, if you're a practice owner, you know what happens when a patient has perio if they don't take care of it. I was at the dental lab and we saw a lot of perio patients, and it's horrifying what happens if patients, and it doesn't hurt, right? So the patients are lacking of clinical education of why they need to get care done, especially around perio. And we did on another podcast that we run here at Boom Cloud, we had Dr. Dan Nelson come in and talk about that conundrum in the industry. So patient education when it comes to their clinical needs is a huge thing that we need to do in dentistry, and make sure that we're educating our patients and even have a process of how we properly educate patients. Because look, we're in dentistry every day. This is our lives, right? We're thinking about it. Patients aren't thinking about teeth, right? So patient education is super critical. Those are kind of my data points on just what's happening in this space from my perspective, from membership plans, the cost and financing, and and with AI, right? How can we use AI to better combat against these insurance companies? There's a lot of ways, So, this is not a plug for ChatGPT, but go use it, play around with it. I think it could be really cool. You can come up with a lot of cool ideas and strategies to help your practice with all the things that are being discussed on this podcast. So those are my tips and tricks of what I'm seeing happening in the trends of dentistry today.
Excellent. That's a lot of information there, Jordan.
That is
Thank
a lot.
you. The one that stood out to me was 20. You said, I think it was 22% of people are not moving forward their treatment plans.
Yeah.
So that's among 37% of adults that use their benefits each year.
Good point. Yeah.
And among those people, only 22% actually do treatment. So if you're saying 22% don't, that actually makes sense.
Yeah.
That means that the number is actually a lot higher if only 22% of active patients are getting a restorative procedure.
Yeah.
The rest are not, right? But 22% of them get a treatment plan and they say no.
Yep. They say no. There's no urgency, right? There's no education letting them know what will happen, right? As mentioned before we recorded the show, there's a doctor that Ben and I know, and he's like, yeah, you're going to get an abscess, and then it's going to hurt a little bit worse, and then you're going to die. So urgency, learn how to educate urgency when you're talking to a patient on clinical needs. Because it is important, and we want to take care of patients properly and help educate them. So
absolutely.
Yeah. I just want to add, I'll try to be brief, but the patients that are not getting the treatment done are these PPO patients. As you mentioned, the
Yeah.
patients that have no insurance, that are on the discount plans, they are saying yes to treatment. So
Yes.
this seems conflicting when we're saying the reason they don't get treatment done is cost. That's only happening on the PPO side.
Yes.
When they don't have insurance and we are educating them, you mentioned that the insurance company is putting up barriers. There's a different mindset that goes into place and all these limitations that the insurance puts out there that actually persuades patients not to get treatment done.
Yes.
Patients are saying yes more, so you mentioned offices are making more or patients are spending more. It's not because you're getting a higher fee and they're not on insurance. The reason is because they're actually saying yes to treatment more. They are accepting more treatment. I see this all the time. We use discount plans. We do this on a day-to-day. This is happening. Those patients are saying yes to the treatment plan and not saying no, like the PPO. And that's because of the red tape that the PPO puts out. You mentioned that
almost like they've had years and years and years to refine that saying no process.
They have, yeah. The way that they structure it really, really puts in the mentality of the patients to say no or to be hesitant, or to be insurance minded. We'll call it a lot of like, make sure you train your patients not to be insurance minded.
Yeah, like I will only do what my insurance covers. That's the mindset you're referring to.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, it's jack shit. Sorry, you can bleep that one out, Ben.
No, you're good. We're keeping that in. That's the flavor. That's the flavor right there.
Yeah.
I have also seen the HR departments. I've seen small businesses use the discount plans as the replacement of insurance for their patients. And this has been huge. And the small businesses are loving it. It's much more affordable for them. And it gives much better quality of care to their employees that they want to take care of. So I just want to second that's not a myth, that I am seeing that as well. And it's been really fun to watch that happen. And on patient education, I just want to speak to that really quickly as well. The offices are going to say, just because I know I've been in the office and I work with these guys every day, they're like, we do tell them, they still don't understand, they're still not listening. There's like shell shock, right? And some of it is sticker shock, we call it, right? The shell shock, the sticker shock. These insurance companies have these really high premiums, and the patients are thinking that's going to make their dental care a lot less expensive, and it's not. Now they're paying these high premiums and they're paying high out-of-pocket costs. And they're also finding out that they have something serious going on in their mouth. It's a lot for them to take in. It's a lot for them to handle. So we have to have some documentation, some reading material for them to take home with them after their visit. And it can't just be in the clinical side. The doctor or the hygienist visits over, just diagnoses that and goes over that education with them. But the front office team needs to be able to back up and repeat and reiterate the education that they just heard in the back. Something happens to people's minds when they go from the back to the front. And when they hear it again, it solidifies that, but they're also sometimes hearing it for the first time. And they say, they didn't say anything like that to me. And my hygienist is like, yes, I spent 20 minutes going over this. That they don't hear it sometimes. And sometimes even if I'm reiterating it, it still is too much for them to absorb. Giving them reading information, just say, everything we went over is here in this documentation. Take it home, read it over. Let me know if you have any other questions about this condition that you have, about this treatment that we need.
Yeah, that's great.
And then they have opportunities to go home and they look through the paperwork and it starts absorbing again when they're not in the moment of overwhelmed. Like they're not turning it off anymore. Now they're reading it at a time that they're receptive to it and they can take it in.
That's awesome.
Just a little tidbit of a tip there for you.
No, that's perfect.
Great.
And I was going to say, my patients with periodontal disease, I tell them that, that nightmare we all have of our teeth falling out, like we just wake up and our teeth out, that's periodontal disease.
That's what's going to happen.
Yeah. So I do tell that to patients.
Perio maintenance now.
Well, after your teeth fall out, you're going to be dead.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, your teeth are going to fall out of your head and you're not even going to know. It doesn't hurt. They're just going to fall out. And then they're like, what? Yeah.
There are perio maintenance membership plans too. We're seeing more and more of those happening because I would imagine because it's easier for patients from the 59% of patients that are afraid of cost. Like perio maintenance has a higher cost than normal
does.
preventative care. We all know that,
Mhm.
right? So arming and allowing patients to say yes by making it easy, by having them on a perio maintenance plan, membership plan is an easy way to do that, especially it being the like number one missed or undiagnosed issue in dentistry. It's wild to
Right.
me. And back to that, like I remember like patients are losing their teeth and then they have to get dentures, and then that's a whole different story. When you have to get dentures, your
Yes.
mouth moves like crazy, you're changing. It's
Yeah.
like it's like water, like it's moving, right?
Well, this is great information from both of you, and I'm quite certain that many are going to be rewinding and re-listening to a lot of the things that you both said. So, invitation for the listeners, as you can see, Jordan and Tessina don't hold back. So if you have questions for them or their team members about some of the things mentioned, we'll post their websites. Jordan is boomcloudapps.com and Tessina's is verisdental.com. The spelling of those will be put in the show notes. So, so don't try to text and drive or read and drive. Just listen. And,
or you click and drive, whatever.
Check out the show notes later. Well, Jordan, Tessina, it's always great chatting with you, picking your brains today. I had a good feeling that just picking your brain on these two topics would make for a great episode. So thank you for hitting the ball out of the park. So appreciate that.
Thanks, dog.
Yeah. And in closing, we just want to thank our listeners for joining us today on another great and amazing episode of Insurance Untangled, the Insurance Untangled podcast and the Navigating Dental Insurance podcast. Give us a like, share this on your favorite podcast platform. Sorry, I'm tongue twisters today for me. And then, of course, if there are any topics that anybody wants to know, or at least have us speak about, go ahead and send us an email. You can send those to me, help@veritasdentalresources.com, and we'll most certainly get those topics on the books. Again, thank you for joining us today, and we wish all of you the best of success.